Should INFPs put Johnny Depp on a pedestal? Should we glorify him as much as we do? I'm actually here to say no, we shouldn't. I don't know if that's going to be controversial or not, but let me just start by saying I do appreciate his work. I do find him charismatic, and I do like him, generally speaking. But there are a number of things about him that I find problematic. And sometimes I just wonder if, with Johnny Depp and, INFPs kind of claiming him as one of our own, if we're looking more towards Edward Scissorhands and maybe a few of his other characters that he played. I wonder if we're focusing on that too much and not really Johnny Depp the person, because while I think CJ Joseph typed him as an INFP, if I'm not mistaken, based on a couple of interviews, and he's thought to be an INFP, but I don't know. There's just something about him that, and I'll go into a few things, but that make me think he's either not an INFP or maybe just what they might call an unhealthy INFP. I don't know, but for sure, Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands, I think I was in love with him as a character since the first time I saw the movie. I just completely resonated with him. I think a lot of INFPs who have some brokenness in their background really resonated with him. Like, my parents divorced when I was 8, and I think that's just really probably one of the worst times. Right when you're in your development as a person, and your parents split, it just shatters security. It's just, I'm not going to go and get into divorce, but yeah, I was, the wounds last a long time, let's just put it that way, and it's really rough. But I think with Edward Scissorhands, although he's got a different story, so to speak, he is still kind of less than whole, let's say, but someone who is docile and loving and just wants the best for everyone. And that's kind of his character too. He, when he's doing people's hair and he's creating sculptures in the bushes at people's homes and all these kinds of things, he kind of is restoring humanity, kind of completing, let's say, making people whole. And I think, INFPs resonate with that. But the one scene I really loved was in the beginning when, and I forget her name now, but the mother in the story, the Avon lady, is coming to the house on the hill to sell some cosmetics. And she has no idea who lives there and whatnot. And she slowly makes her way up the staircase to the room where Edward lives in his kind of cave in the attic kind of thing. And I don't know, I think INFPs kind of relate to his domicile and the way he approaches her. So she sees him in the distance, and she can't make him out very well, and he kind of gets up and starts going to her. And then as he comes into view, she sees that he's this very mild appearance is very scary if you don't know him, obviously, and he's got these scissors and all leather and wild black hair, which I need to make a meme on that, because that was actually influenced by, confirmed by the director Tim Burton, that his hair was based on Robert Smith of The Cure. And there's a whole thing, there's a whole meme on that I gotta share at some point. But anyway, so she gets frightened and starts backing away and oh, I don't want to get murdered here, so okay, but then he says, no, don't go, in that gentle voice, and then she realizes that he's not a threat. But just that kind of aesthetic, that let's just say, again, kind of an INFP with kind of a broken past, really resonate with that. But anyways, to be sure, Edward Scissorhands is definitely the poster boy for INFPs, I think. he's not remotely close to anything else. I mean, he is pure INFP essence. And I think that's where people, for the most part, kind of get, they kind of lump Johnny Depp in, the person. And yes, I mean, he does have INFP tendencies. I forgot if I mentioned this already, but I think C.S. Joseph did type him, and I think he's probably one of the best at typing people. He typed him as INFP, and maybe he is, but that was just based on a couple of interviews, and, can you really type someone on a couple of interviews? Maybe. You can probably get really close, but anyways, I mean, there's just some things about Johnny Depp himself, though, that, I mean, I do like him, he's charismatic, all this good stuff, but, okay, so let me there's a few things here's what, I think maybe gives INFPs a bad rap in some ways. Is if you look at some of his interviews, the one thing I really hate, though, is, well, one of the things he said is, like, it was an interview, he was doing a press junket for one of his movies, and I think it was in France, maybe, I forget exactly where. I mean, I know he lives there, but he was saying, like, really disparaging things about the United States, and I forget exactly what the question was, but he said something to the effect of, you live in France now, do you ever come back to the United States, or how do you feel about the United States? Something to that effect. And he said, oh, yeah, the United States is, a place I like to keep at a distance. Like I take my kids to Disney World, and then he said something like this really kind of condescending towards the United States, and like we look at the United States from afar, but we would never want to live here or anything like that. And it was just like, so it brings up a question. I mean, do that kind of condescension, I don't know if I could ever do that in an interview. No matter, even if I didn't have like amicable feelings about a country, even though that's where he's from, like, it just seems strange. Like, it's kind of it was definitely a mean-spirited thing to say. Like, like, is he not thinking about all his friends and family back home, that he's just kind of, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this topic can be, you can just put the hairs all day. But there was another incident where he had basically, now I don't mean to bring politics in this, but I guess sometime after Trump was elected, he had said something like, oh, well, this wouldn't be the first time an actor had killed a president. Like, I think, referring back to Booth's assassination of Lincoln. And now I know INFPs can have very strong opinions, and if he perceives that Trump is, just like a great malevolent evil in the world, it might appeal to an INFP's idealism that, like, murdering this evil person would achieve some justice in the world. But still, I mean, even if that's the case, because I know, INFPs are all over the political spectrum, all over the religious spectrum. I mean, just like any other type, we're everywhere, on the left and on the right. But, I thought that was kind of a pretty cheap, I don't know. It just didn't sit real well with me. Let me know what you thought. But then, sometimes he can just be kind of pretentious. Like, one time he was doing an interview, and he made a big point, because he was, pouring a glass of wine during the interview, and then take a drink and put the glass of wine next to him. That just seemed a little, I don't know if pretentious is the right word, but I don't know. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, here's the other thing. Yeah, I mean, okay, admittedly that's a little small, but I just thought it was kind of putting on airs a little bit. I don't know. I just didn't know if that was like a super I don't know. But one of the other ones was like if you see his interviews, I've seen them say this 2 or 3 times on late night shows or whatever. But he always says he never watches his movies, which I also kind of have a problem with. Like, he works on these movies. He loves the craft of acting, or so he says. But he doesn't. He's I never watch my movies. When they're done, he just never watches them. And I just thought that's something that's kind of. Hang on, I love this tree. I like this. That is a giant oak. And up here, someone put together a deer out of tree limbs, which is like completely awesome. I'll show it to you in a second. But imagine. Let me just ask you this. So imagine you're an actor, and you're with the film crew, the directors, producers, everyone involved in the process, and you're making a movie for 6 to 9 months, however long it is, and you go on to a late night talk show and promoting the film, but then you tell everyone, oh yeah, but I don't watch the film. I never watch anything I work on. Like, imagine you're the director or the producer, or well, no, maybe the director. Hang on, I'll continue in a second. Look at this. Hi. So cool. I wish I had that kind of ability. Just grab some. Yeah. So, but would that not drive you a little crazy if the star actor said in front of national TV, "No, it wasn't worth it for me to watch it myself." No matter what the reason. Although in his case, I think it's really just kind of false humility and false modesty, which I think is. And really, I think that's what it is. It might be true that he doesn't watch his own films after they're finished. Oh gosh, I hope that the wind is blowing. I hope y'all can hear me. I should probably get out of here. There's soccer fields, but without the trees, it gets super windy. Let me go this way. This way's really cool. So, I mean, is that kind of... and again, to go back... Well, actually, there's something who was it, like INFP Purple or INFX? One of the female INFP YouTubers was talking about how, like, we are inherently kind of it's just part of, I don't know, the way we're wired as INFPs. We can be selfish and self-centered, and that is true. But I don't know to the extent of, having false modesty or false humility, which I think that's, what it was when Johnny says, "Oh, I never watch any of my films." But also, I just think it's kind of disrespectful to everyone who poured 6 to 9 months of their lives into a movie, and then your star actor just says, "I never watch them, not worth my time." Yeah, and you may not agree with me, but I think maybe you still kind of see where I'm coming from. So, I don't know. Is he an INFP? Probably. But is he all that? I mean, do we have to make him out to be like this INFP superhero? Man, I can think of other INFPs that are, I did find out, I just finally took the Enneagram, and I'm a 2 wing 3, which I was totally expecting to see a 4 or 9, because I don't know really anything about Enneagram, but I know there's so many INFPs that are 4s and 9s. So I was totally expecting to see a 4 or 9, and when I saw 2, I was like, "What the heck?" But I looked into it, and reading about 2, I think that's definitely me and whatnot. But then I was on Personality Database, and I was looking for, just curious. We're all curious. Like, okay, so who are the INFP 2W3s? And I saw Tom Hiddleston, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then I went to one of his, look him on YouTube, and anyway, he's a cool. I got what am I doing? Like, how do I get to Tom Hiddleston? Anyways, let me leave it there. But let me know what you think about Johnny Depp. If what I said, some of my opinions about Johnny Depp, make sense to you at all. Maybe I'm totally wrong about this. But again, I just think people really identify with Edward Scissorhands. I think that character is amazing. And if you want to have a kind of a poster boy for INFPs, that's it for sure. Yeah, anyways, I could probably go on, but well, yeah, I did make some notes. Let me just see if I didn't leave anything out. Yeah, I guess that covers it. Let me know.